In this lecture, we're going to create our very first animation with Mr. Cube. We're going to just move a basic cube and we're going to create an animation with our cube. We're going to just use 2 frames and we only need to work on the first and last frames. Then we're going to give you a couple of challenges. So let's log in to Blender. So the first thing I'm going to do for this is I'm going to bring up my timeline. If I can. Yep, there we go. Now this timeline will show us any frames that we have. So if we check the number bar at the bottom here, these are your frame numbers. So we're currently, this green line means that we're currently on frame 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an animation. Now I think the way I want to do this is I'm going to press 1 for a front perspective and then 5 to go to front orthodox. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my cube back to about here. I'm now going to save my keyframe. Now there are a couple of ways we can do this. What we're going to do in this lecture is we're going to press this button. So we're going to do automatic keyframe insertion for objects and bones. So we're going to click, just move this about a bit, and what's happened there is we've now saved a keyframe. The next thing we do is we have to choose another frame in the timeline. So I'm going to tap this value here and I'm going to type in 60 and enter. Now the green bar has moved to frame 60, but where we were before we've got a smaller yellow bar. This represents a keyframe. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the cube along the x-axis to here, and as soon as I release, it will insert the keyframe. Now to have a look at our animation, because believe it or not, that's all you need to do to create an animation in truth, is we're going to press this button here to go back, and we're going to press play. So as soon as I press play, there's our animation. So we've got a moving cube. So basically all we've really done is by changing 2 frames and creating 2 keyframes, we have created an animation. The reason why is because Blender is very clever. It takes your first and last animations that you inserted and it fills the gaps. So for example, because this is the location for keyframe 0 and this is the location for keyframe 60, then Blender has worked out all the other frames in between, so it knows where the cube should be at frame 30, for example. So there we go, there's our first animation. Now I have a couple of challenges. I want you to now create an animation where the cube jumps from one point to another. So the animation we just did saw it slide along the x-axis. A little bit of a hint for you, move your cube along the x and z axis. So there's my tip there. I want you to create another part where the cube travels to its original position. Sorry, that's a little bit weird how I've said that. Basically what I mean is you do your first animation, and then after you've done that you are to insert another keyframe later on where your cube will travel back to the original position. So actually with this one I'm just going to show you very quickly what I mean by that. So in Blender, basically you'll create your animation from 0 to 60, we'll do it 0 to 60 for now, where your cube will jump from one space and jump to the next space by frame 60. Then I want you to go to, say, frame 120, where you're going to, using what we've learned so far, you're going to tap 120 with auto keying on, and you're just going to slide your cube back to where your original position was. That's all you have to do, guys. And finally, I want you to, once you've done that, create a second sliding cube that travels in the opposite direction. So what you can do is, for example, you can have one cube starting this position on frame 0, and you can create another cube that starts over here in this position, and you can have this cube jump while at the same time the cube that you install here slides back. So give that a go, guys, and I will see you in the next lecture.